What's going on, guys? Rusty here, Central Florida Weather Live. Give me just 1 second. Sorry about that. Thought I had everything set up. How we doing? It's a Thursday afternoon. Live here, Central Florida Weather Live. Appreciate you joining. Hi, Jay. Hi, best day ever 2020. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to jump on and talk about what's going on right now. It's again been a very active day across the area. We talked about it a couple of days ago, how I expected this to continue to be an active pattern across our area. Storms are again firing up at the hour, and they're getting a little bit more intense as well. We had some storms along the coastline a little bit earlier today that were also quite active, and that's what we're seeing developing back over the I-4 corridor. And of course, we're getting into the drive home time here, and it's not great news for the Metro Orlando area and up to the north. We do have a special weather statement that is in effect. Let me give you the newest information on that one. It's going to be for Western Cibolo, East Central Lake, Northwest Orange until 4:30. See the live time on your screen there for right now. 40-mile-an-hour winds. Sanford, Apopka, Altamont Springs, Ocoee, and Orlando all impacted by this. It is moving east at around 15, but really more than anything, it's also just kind of building in. And of course, we're into the 4 o'clock hour now, so I-4 is already busy, but it's going to be wet. It's going to be stormy across this area. We could have some localized heavier rainfall, a little bit of at least some isolated flash flooding, low-lying areas, ponding on roadways, all of that possible. And again, all of this is going to try and drive back towards the coast where it's already been active earlier today. And, you know, I mentioned it in our Tuesday stream where this isn't the typical sea breeze pattern. Now, it is the West Coast sea breeze that has marched its way east. But in addition to that, we also have a lot of mid and upper level support from a frontal boundary, which is actually draped over the area. It's very unusual for this time of the year, but that quasi-stationary boundary has led to all of the active weather that we've seen, including rounds of storms even in the morning hours. I mean, it's been a very gloomy day. A little bit of sun has come back up. There actually is a severe thunderstorm warning up here, just so you know, up in the St. Augustine area, north and west of Palm Coast. But there's our one severe thunderstorm warning far away. We did have a special weather statement for this storm north and west of the Ocala area in Marion County. And it's a pretty active storm right now, even a little bit farther away up towards Chiefland. Look at all the lightning strikes there. So we have pockets of storms right now. A little bit quieter down in Tampa at the hour, a little bit quieter in Brevard County, but again, these storms are racing all the way off towards the east, and now in Volusia County, this is building in as well. So I-4 north, northern Orange, into Cibolo and Volusia counties, very wet, stormy weather. Again, that's the live lightning count here. Central Florida Weather Live, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna Beach, Port Orange, it's wet, it's stormy. There's I-4 over Volusia County towards Lake Helen. It's going to really snarl things, slow things up. And then we get back to this special weather statement here for at least the next 8 minutes. Biggest threat, again, are going to be some wind gusts of around 40 miles an hour. Let's throw on, actually, the wind gusts across the area, see if any of the reporting stations have anything significant. Nothing in the Sanford area as of yet. Downtown Orlando had a 17, 21 up there, I believe. That's the New Smyrna station. It is, yeah. So 21 there at New Smyrna. So nothing crazy. Let's see, had a 28 Keystone Heights, 28 St. Augustine, 30 up in Gainesville. So, you know, it's the winds, the biggest threat, but it is really dark outside if you live in Metro Orlando right now, isn't it? How you guys doing, by the way? Appreciate you joining. If you're here, do me a quick favor, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to Central Florida Weather Live, but I'm sure a lot of you who have already joined have. So again, I appreciate you there. Let's take a look at a couple different things. I'm going to take off and bring on the composite radar here. And we'll loop this up so you guys can see what has been going on over the last couple of hours. So this is what the situation has been like through the early to mid-afternoon. Best thing, actually, probably, let's just go ahead and do everything we can here. Take it back 6 hours, all right? Now, again, earlier in the day, we had some very healthy storms that fed off mainly the Brevard County coastline. Look at those develop. Special weather statements, special marine warnings, winds of around 40 miles an hour. Now, the storms inland are trying to pulse up as well. Again, heat of the day, We're getting a little bit toastier outside. So now there's a little bit more energy, and again, a lot of lift in the atmosphere as well. So could see a couple more special weather statements, and again, interior sections that will try and drive back towards the coast. Earlier also in the Tampa area, and you can almost see there a very broad spin at the mid-levels. If you notice that this rain has just a little slight twist to it here, again, just more mid and upper level support than what we would typically see in August, which has driven this extra activity. And it's really just been gangbuster central and south sides of the state. The front itself is, I can put that on for you here. Again, it's kind of bobbling back and forth, but the computer is basically picking it up over Marion County, which means that all of our winds have basically been out of the south at the surface and the west aloft. And there's been a big convergence of winds through Central Florida, through South Florida, and it's just been an extremely active day. Look at the lightning counts. Again, this is just a snapshot every 15 minutes, but we were over 2,000 lightning strikes in this view for time. 2,500 it even looks like, and even now we're still at around 1,000, and all of this activity is even drifted into the Bahamas and portions of the southeast side of the state as well. Anything for Orange Park, Florida, Jacksonville area? Sure, Susanna, excuse me. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning right now just west of St. Augustine, and that would include near the Green Cove Springs area. Let me bring this back to the live look. That is trying to drift up to the north. All right. So in Jacksonville right now, we have one spotty shower, winds of around 30, and then we'll watch this storm trying to lift north. Now, I think even though the Weather Service office in Jacksonville has put this polygon north, that eventually this storm is also going to try and push east as well. Okay, so I'm not sure it's going to make Jacksonville itself, but just to the south, there is some rowdier weather. As a matter of fact, we can drop this and go to the Jacksonville radar just to give you guys an up-close view of that storm. So let me bring up the Jacksonville radar here. There she is. This is KJAX. And there's that storm. So severe thunderstorm warning there. Let me get you the details on that since you asked. I'm happy to do so. Just got to go up to the Jacksonville area. It is the lone severe thunderstorm warning that we actually have, guys. Everything else is special weather statement. So it's for west central St. John's, east central Clay County until 5. So for the next 34 minutes, as you see on your screen, wind gusts of 60. It's moving north at 15, 7 miles southeast of Green Cove Springs. It's all about the wind right now. There's an additional storm here, as you mentioned, Orange Park. That's not severe, but there is a nice little 28-mile-an-hour gust just north of you. So that cell, we put the Jacksonville radar into motion, is actually trying to drift a little bit closer to your area. If you live in Orange Park and you're looking north and east, you're going to see that trying to sneak back in. So kind of interesting that here it looks like the East Coast sea breeze is trying to push some of the storms back inland, which is a different pattern than what's actually happening farther south, where we're still getting the West Coast sea breeze to kind of dominate. But you guys are north of the boundary, which is why there's a difference in the wind direction here. If you notice this pink line is kind of a delineation. Again, that's where that weak quasi-stationary front is. Everything south of there is trying to still push east, but everything north honestly looks like there's very little movement overall. Very variable movement, maybe south with this storm, north with that one. You can even see that my computer that picks up on the movement kind of started at northwest and is swinging it back to the due north. Eventually, I think some of this stuff tries to move east, but this is an unusual storm given the rest of the pattern here that is trying to slip back into your area. Appreciate you, Susanna. Thank you very much for tuning in, liking, and subscribing as well. Happy to help you guys. And again, nice 30-mile-an-hour gust there. So isolated in Jacksonville, but actually some rowdier storms there as well. It's a pretty nasty storm, northwest side of Marion County. And again, that was a special weather statement, but if you live in the Ocala area, this one is trying to move east across I-75. And again, back into Metro Orlando right now. Again, special weather statement kind of for the far northern sides of Orange County. But again, that storm is going to be impacting I-4, and then you have a big cluster of storms up in portions of Northern Lake and Volusia counties as well. By the way, the guys were able to fix the scrolling cities down below, so there you go. We got those back up working again, and we do have our cameras. Let's take a look at those. Now, it's going to be a little bit quieter down at Disney right now. That's great news, right? There was a little bit of rain earlier today. A little bit was dripping off of the gutters there, as I saw a little bit earlier. And then that's the live look to Conway. Again, that's just southeast of downtown Orlando. That is a very, very dark sky there at Conway. And again, multiple rounds of showers and storms likely in these areas. Right now, it's quiet over the Conway area, but you can see some of those really dark clouds. And I got to tell you something, living in Metro Orlando myself, it is pretty ominous outside right now. It's very, very dark in most areas, and that's a pretty common sight. All right, so back over to the radar again. Let's go back out to the wide shot, and I'm going to switch back over to the Tampa radar. Now, unfortunately, the Melbourne radar, again, is having some data issues, not with my computer, not with my system, but just overall. So let's get that. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Sorry, I brought on the Tampa terminal Doppler. Again, I can switch to all different radars across the United States and Puerto Rico, by the way. And then we can look at composites as well. So individual radar sites, we can look at them composited together. By the way, just to note, look at that. West Palm Beach had a 55-mile-an-hour wind with the storms down there. So again, just a rowdy, active pattern for us here. It does look like that they allowed that special weather statement to expire, which is great news. So these storms are what we call pulse storms, meaning that they develop very quickly, they kind of blow their tops fast, and then they come back down, right? So they're not going to be sustained storms as well, all right? But they can be very intense for about 15 minutes to a half hour. It's called pulse thunderstorms. We get them sometimes, and again, they can drop a couple of inches of rain in a very short amount of time, kind of blinding rain out there, winds that could be very, very strong, and obviously, you know, the opportunity to cause some isolated flash flooding and ponding on roads. If you live in the Oviedo area, it's wet. Same thing for Castleberry, Altamont Springs, Winter Springs, Wekiva Springs, on up towards Apopka, Mount Dora, Mount Plymouth, Sanford. Again, keep an eye out for some winds there. Let me get back on the wind gusts. Okay, they are on good. So nothing yet reported out of the airport there. Storm picking up over DeLand and Lake Helen, right across I-4 over the St. John's. That's always a tough commute this time of the day. You factor in a nasty storm like that, and it gets even worse. Everyone got to slow down. New Smyrna, Ponce Inlet, Port Orange there in Volusia County. And again, everything's trying to go east here. It's a little bit different story up here. And it does look like, unless I have this, let me just double check, but they might have allowed that severe thunderstorm warning to go away too. So let me just double check that. It does look like it's still in effect, at least on the map. No, they did let it go away. So the great thing about my system is it's so fast, it basically is quicker than what you would find on Weather Service websites, which I am still getting used to because I'm still having to fully believe it. Wait, did that really go away, or was that really added? Because I don't see it yet when I'm looking on my tablet. But it does look like that severe thunderstorm warning is gone there. Now, again, I'm looking at the Tampa radar, so you're not going to get as far north as Jacksonville, but there's still a pretty rowdy storm there. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you very much for liking. And again, if you're joining me here on this Thursday afternoon, it's because we have some pretty decent storms across the air. We had a couple of special weather statements a little bit earlier, but it was the timing of these storms as well that coincided with the afternoon drive that I was most concerned about. Now, things are improving down in Tampa, where earlier in the day that they really had some rough weather. I mean, early, and we talked about this on Tuesday's stream as well, that some of these storms along the West Coast were going to be able to move in during the morning hours just based on the inherent situation that we had in play. And so it was a rougher drive with some flood warnings for portions of Pinellas and Hillsborough counties and just in the Tampa area in general. And then now the rough weather the roughest is going to be down in West Palm, 55-mile-an-hour winds, and down towards Miami. Again, we're looking at the single radar side of Tampa, so we're not getting all of it here. But in Central Florida, of course, the areas that we cover the most, again, it's going to be the northern sides of Metro Orlando, Altamont Springs, Sanford, Deltona, DeLand, Edgewater, on over towards Daytona Beach. Let's put that back into motion. I'm going to swing back over to our composite radar here. We'll loop that up just over the last 2 hours this time. So again, you notice that we had a few areas of convergence of storms. You see all of that lightning that is beginning to fade. And this is what again, what I'm calling a pulse thunderstorm. Seen it many, many times. Look how intense that lightning got for a pretty brief time. If you look at the top left-hand side of your screen, right? So they issued the special weather statement right around 3:27. Look at all the lightning and look at the count pick up, 3:27 to 3:50. So 20 minutes. Oh, that was the first one. It goes away. Here comes the second one. So let's see, they issued that. That's the first special weather statement. Here comes the second one right there. So they issued it about 4:15-ish, 4:10-ish, and then it goes right back down pretty quickly. So they're not lasting long. That one's kind of developing, and then again, we had that Marion County one earlier, and that was allowed to expire as well. New one has developed. Looks like it's going to be the far, far western sides of Alachua County, west of Gainesville. Movement with that one is going to try and be east. So there is not, right now, any uniform movement when you get near this boundary or north. Everything south of here has more of a nice, little bit more unidirectional coming out of the east. But everything around that boundary, that is that pink line, by the way, guys, that's the boundary, is much more, I mean, it's almost definitely coming back south and west up towards Stark and the south side of Jacksonville, High Springs area, Lake City. Very unusual pattern, like I said, but a very active pattern. And by the way, it's not going anywhere next day or two. At least through tomorrow, I think we're going to get the same kind of pattern. Now, eventually, starting Saturday, Sunday, this feature will begin to fade, where it's not going to be as much of a direct impact on our area. Still expecting high rain chances Saturday, Sunday, and I'm not ready to dismiss the fact that it's still not going to be a factor in the weather over the weekend as well. Just may not be as much of a focal point for us here. But again, it started basically Monday, especially began on Tuesday. So we've already had 3 days in a row of this, and we're probably going to have at least a little bit more as well. Grab a quick drink. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Nothing outrageously significant right now. But again, we had some pulse thunderstorms in the Metro Orlando area and portions of our East Coast that I wanted to just jump on and cover. And again, you know, we don't have to be on forever. Sometimes we'll be on for several hours. Sometimes we won't be on very long, just given the nature of things here in Central Florida. But I want to try to make sure we cover that for you guys. So go back over to our camera out of Lake Conway, again in the Metro Orlando area. And it's still a pretty nasty dark sky out there. I mean, it's not raining over the Conway area at this point in time, but you can just see what's still out there. And it does lead to the fact that, again, you know, very heavy rainfall in some spots, enough to really cause some issues on some of the roadways. So got to be careful about that. Got to be really careful to make sure that, you know, in these areas that we don't have the rain that could really, really cause some significant problems there, right? Monitor that situation for you guys there. Okay, back out here. And again, let's reset the shot. We'll still be out of the Tampa radar. Unfortunately, if you guys notice that there's a little red dot here at the Melbourne radar, they have not been transmitting over the last 2 hours. We can look, though, here in the Metro Orlando area. Out of the terminal Doppler from MCO. See what it shows. So the heaviest rain right now is north of downtown Orlando, Castleberry, Altamont Springs, Winter Springs, Oviedo. But at this point in time, it's not showing anything too heavy. Good cluster of lightning. You can see those cluster lightning right across the 417 up there towards the Oviedo area. Again, that's going to be just north of the UCF area. But Castleberry, Winter Springs, all of that area pretty rough. 417 over Lake Jessup. Takes you back closer to Sanford. And again, doesn't appear to be. Double check the winds one more time here. Sanford never had a strong wind gust out of that storm. It just died out a little bit too quickly for that to happen. But you can still get the idea that there's multiple areas of some very heavy rain. But again, these terminal Dopplers, they also unfortunately don't go out very far as distance, which is why we have the other radars to come in. And I'm still, I'm using the Tampa terminal. The actual radar for the Tampa area is located in Ruskin, if you guys know where that is. Looks like a little cell's trying to peek up, perk itself up a little bit over Indian River City and Titusville. Just one second, guys. So that one's pulsing up just a little bit. Doesn't look to be anything too significant, but again, the movement, at least with these, is out of the east, right? Movement's out of the east, and so they'll be pushing from west to east, so there'll be a little bit of forward speed with these. And they're thinning out a bit. Starting to pick up a heavier cell right now, just to the west of 44. Now this one could get interesting. Now again, we're shooting out of the Tampa radar right now, so a little bit higher as far as how far into the storm that we're looking at. But this is the first time I've seen anything trying to talk about a little bit of hail. So this would be one that if you lived in Orange City and DeLand, you're kind of in between storms right now. Heavier rain over Lake Helen and I-4, relatively dry, but you look off to the west, that's kind of a nastier storm. So these are pulsing up again, mainly in Volusia County right now. Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna, right across 415 around the Osteen area north towards 44 in Samsula. And again, the direction with this is out of the east. Little cell has redeveloped northwest sides of Orange County into the far eastern sides of Lake County. So Mount Dora, Oakland Park towards Tavares. Again, kind of northeast or east, some easterly component though to the direction. And they have reissued the special weather statement with this storm that I mentioned earlier. So we had one and then they let it expire, but now we're picking up a little bit more intense cell coming back into Ocala. And that part of the cell, which is just north of 27, is pretty intense. It is showing the possibility of a hail signature. Certainly some very heavy rain trying to get towards I-75. So that special weather statement has just been issued and goes for the next 33 minutes. See if I can get you guys some of those details. Try something out with you guys here. Yeah. All right. So for this new special weather statement, it's southwest Alachua, northwest Marion until 5:15. 40-mile-an-hour winds and minor flooding due to heavy rainfall. And so that's what we've been talking about. See, they're saying the movement is northeast at 5, but really the movement is basically zilch, right? And that's the problem, is that you're seeing some very heavy rainfall pick up and it's not moving much. And with these pulse storms like this, you do get the opportunity to have some rainfall totals several inches as a possibility. And again, this part of the cell right here, southwest of Reddick, northwest of Ocala. Here's Ocala right now. That is a very intense cell. And it is over still mainly rural areas, but we're starting to get into more neighborhoods, or at least more populated areas. They're just north of 27, just west of 75. And again, some of that heavy activity now extends up towards Newberry there in the far western sides of Alachua County. Special weather statement still continues for just the next couple of minutes towards St. Augustine. Nothing yet out of these storms but this will bear watching as far as whether they'll issue special weather statements here for places like DeLand in Orange City, towards Lake Helen, New Smyrna, Ponce Inlet. Again, stronger storms and an unusual pattern. This is not just our typical, summertime sea breeze storms. We have a frontal boundary, if you guys are just tuning in, and we mentioned it in Tuesday's stream. I want to bring this on. It's kind of draped over the northern part of Central Florida right now, kind of cuts over Flagler and Marion counties. Now, north of there, they're still seeing storms, but their movement is much more stationary, or actually even trying to drift a little bit back off towards the west. But all the storms here in Central Florida, south of the boundary, have some bit of an easterly movement to them. So it is very unusual, again, because this front is what we call quasi-stationary. It's just a lot of lift in the atmosphere overall, and all of the winds are moving from west to east along it. Bring back on the base reflectivity here. So again, what does this look like over the last couple of hours? You can see this cluster of storms here. Now again, was a little bit more prominent right over Metro Orlando, even just 20-25 minutes ago. These cells are lifting north. They're kind of beginning to take over in Volusia County, northern sides of Lake County. Again, not a special weather statement with those. These storms have been pulsing up, but not able to hold their intensity very long here in Central Florida. Again, a decent cell trying to go over Titusville right now, but nothing crazy, nothing cray-cray, just some heavier rain and storms. Tampa, down towards Sarasota, a little bit more rain coming back in here. And it's been really nasty down in Southern Florida. Remember, it just showed you West Palm had a 55-mile-an-hour wind gust. Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and then back down towards portions of the Northwest Bahamas. Again, if you have interest, I hate when I do that. Now I got to find the center of the screen again. That's never going to work. I can drag this lightning strike counter, which is great until I don't actually want to do it. Again, looking at the winds, 55 in West Palm. That's a nasty storm. Nasty, nasty storm. Let's see. Reset the scene. Just double check with the Weather Service offices that there's nothing we're missing. They did issue a flood warning, and let me be clear about that, or make sure that might be the flood advisory. All right, so Clay, Putnam, St. John's are under a flood warning. And then there's a flood advisory that was just issued for this area. And they did issue a new special weather statement, so there you go. That was the cell we've been monitoring, right? That was the one that I thought was going to be pulsing up a bit. So the flood advisory is for Volusia County until 6:15. Now it's not this is a special weather statement, it's different. But again, there's not a ton of movement with this cell as of right now. They say that 1 to 2.5 inches of rain have already fallen, an additional 1 to 2 could fall. Now this is more widespread than just this area because it includes Daytona Beach, Port Orange, New Smyrna, South Daytona Beach Shores, Ponce Inlet, Samsula, Spruce Creek, New Smyrna Beach Airport, Harbor Oaks. And then inland, there is one for Lake Orange and Seminole. And that goes until 6:15. About the same situation, 1.5 to 3 inches have already fallen. 1 to 2 could fall more, especially here north, in the northern side of that flood advisory. Includes Orlando, even though, again, I think the majority of the heavy rain is going to be north of at least downtown Orlando. But Sanford, Apopka, Altamont Springs, Winter Springs, Castleberry, Maitland, Lake Mary, Longwood, Lockhart, Mount Plymouth, Zellwood, Pine Hills, Wekiwa Springs State Park, Wekiwa Springs, Forest City, Fern Park, Sorrento, Fairview Shore. So Fairview Shores, just to kind of give you an idea, here's Altamont Springs, Eatonville, and then there's Fairview Shores. So about it there. And it does include Orlando, but again, I would be more concerned from what I'm seeing farther north for additional rain to cause additional flood issues. And again, we have this new special weather statement for the cell that I was most concerned about, just west of DeLand, Orange City, Deltona, DeBary. Lightning count's going up in that pretty good as well. Over 100 lightning strikes. So let's get the information on that one because it's brand new. I was kind of, again, doing a little tap dance waiting for it. Still hasn't even popped on the Weather Service's website. All right, here we go. It is, though, when I look it up this way. All right, here we go. So it's going to be for Northeast Lake West, Central Volusia through 5:15. So again, the next 26 minutes, as you see, winds of up to 40. Deltona, Orange City, Paisley, and DeBary all will be impacted by this. Movement is south at 15, and that's why this polygon is pointed in this direction. So again, these storms haven't been moving very quickly, but they also haven't been staying this strong for very long. This storm might blow its top relatively quickly here, but we'll see how deep into the land it can impact, or Orange City, or Deltona, or DeBary. Again, within the next 25 minutes, southeast sides of this could be impacted. Now 44, it's a little less populated here, although of course on our street level mapping you can see there are some neighborhoods in this area. Very heavy rain. Again, the radar system's trying to paint on the possibility of some extremely small hail. It's not a big threat for today, but it's also not zero. By the way, we've had some funnel cloud reports from time to time. It's a possibility. Got a lot of SLCs out there, scary looking clouds, right? That's what I call them. If you take a look at the shot again from Conway, you get the idea what I'm talking about. A lot of that going on right now. Every so often, we also have a little bit of roll cloud action to go along with it, right? So we'll have to see how that plays out. Could be a little bit of that situation as well. Just a lot of instability in the atmosphere, right, to produce this. And we've had, again, a little bit of funnel cloud activity from time to time too. Okay, back over to what's going on right now. And again, a couple different special weather statements here in Central Florida. One on the northern sides of Lake County into the northwest sides of Volusia County. And then we have one up in Marion County as well. And these are the strongest ones. And they actually used a severe thunderstorm warning for this. And I'm kind of not shocked. That storm looked like it was pulsing up pretty good. So there you go again. Pulse up of a storm. Let's get the information on that one. Still hasn't even come through. That's how fast my system is. I can tell you this much. Based on the timing, looks like it's going to go till 5:15. Winds of 60, maybe hail too. Less than 3/4 inch. And that's why they issued this, okay? So again, my system can pick up on the main threats for the storm. So severe thunderstorm warning, that's the red polygon, right? Expires in 23 minutes till 5:15. 60-mile-an-hour winds, that's the threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning and or inch-size hail. So we don't have the inch hail, but 3/4 inch hail is relatively big. And that's what we're looking at in these purple and pink areas, okay? And again, if I go here to kind of that cell, you can see it. The movement, at least on my radar, is 7 miles an hour to the south. But look at the hail probability, guys, up to 90%. And it also is picking up 3/4 inch size hail. So there you go. And again, trying to keep that a little bit west of 75 and downtown Ocala towards 301. But for the western sides of Ocala, it's a situation you guys need to be aware of, for sure. I'm getting some lightning notifications on my app as well. How you guys doing today, by the way? Everyone good? Would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments section below. Have a specific question about the forecast, you can drop it down there as well. Happy to oblige, just like Susanna asked. She wanted to know what was going on in Jacksonville. We took a look for her here. So again, storms are pulsing up. They're fairly isolated in nature, relatively speaking, but they're also getting stronger again where they are getting going. This special weather statement right now for Again, the DeBerry, DeLand, Orange City, Deltona area, that movement is southeast right now. Very slow, 40-mile-an-hour winds. So not the most stout storm, but that's strong enough. Let's bring on the winds as a matter of fact real quick. Again. Still 17 there. Doesn't look like Ocala has picked up any more. Not seeing a wind gust out of Ocala yet. And also notice, guys, how small this severe thunderstorm warning is, just in size. Shows you the very little movement associated with this particular cell. Yeah, and the Weather Service with that severe thunderstorm warning says basically nearly stationary. And so you want to talk about the opportunity for some very heavy rain ponding on roadways, stuff like that, right around 27, just west of 75. Just north of the 40 exit. State Road 200, if you guys know that. Takes you back into Citrus County. So 8 miles north of the Ocala Airport, 10 miles northwest of Ocala. 60-mile-an-hour winds. Don't mention hail on this, but certainly everything indicates that there could be some. I mean, again, you can see what's going on here. So it's a really small area, but that's a really potent storm. Very little movement there. If you know anyone who lives in that area, let them know. A little bit of light rain over Brevard County right now. Not going to be horrible as we hit the 5 o'clock hour in Orlando. Looking pretty good for the Metro Orlando drive, meaning like the 408 to the 417, 429, you know, let's say Castleberry or Winter Springs South, right? Still some heavier rain, Winter Springs, Oviedo. But as you get down towards Altamont and Maitland and Baldwin Park and Azalea Park and Conway, Oak Ridge, then back down towards MCO, back down towards the attraction, Celebration, Lake Buena Vista, we've dried out, which is nice, right? Everything's kind of, again, trying to lift east or south, but I don't expect there to be a tremendous south push with this cell until it starts to also swing east as well. There's got to be a little bit of east movement with this. And so what I'm saying is I don't expect this to then try and get all the way back down here. I think it's going to do kind of more like this. But remember, these storms haven't also been holding on for a very long amount of time, right? These storms have pulsed up. They've produced a tremendous amount of rain and lightning in isolated areas, and then they've weakened relatively quickly as well. But new storms have fired on the heels of those. So it hasn't been one linear line by any stretch of the imagination. So breaking down what's happening right now. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for northwest Marion County. Also a special weather statement up there as well for a little bit bigger area. We have a special weather statement right now for portions of Lake and western Volusia County. And then we have flood advisories for the northern sides of Orange, the western sides of Seminole, and a very small sliver of southeast Lake. And then the eastern sides of Volusia County, flood advisories until 6:15. 1 to 3 inches of rain have already fallen in some of these spots. An additional 1 to 2 could fall in those same locations. So there are going to be a couple of spots that get 3-4 plus inches of rain. Could there be an isolated 5-inch amount in those areas? It's plausible. So watch out for that as well. Okay. Again, we're looking better in Tampa after some early morning storms. We've had a couple of showers sneak into Brevard County towards Titusville and Mims, but they've been much lighter. And then the real gangbuster storms have been south of us here. And if you're just tuning in, West Palm last hour had a 55-mile-an-hour wind gust. 55. So that's some pretty rowdy activity. Let's check out our cameras. That again is going to be the Walt Disney World area. And This is something that we're going to continue to add here at Central Florida Weather Live, okay? One thing that we want to do is be able to bring you a lot of live cameras from various parts of Central Florida. So we're beginning to build that out. Appreciate you guys kind of being part of version 1.0 here, but we promise to expand and get bigger. So that's what it looks like at the Disney World area. And that's going to be important. Let me go back to that camera. It's going to be an important camera because, you know, again, I've harped on this, but I know every day there's a lot of folks who are going to be outside in this area. So when there are storms rolling through, it's going to be very important to have a visualization of those storms. So it's great to have that camera, and we're going to be utilizing it a lot, especially when storms come close to impacting the attractions area. This is a live look to Lake Conway in the Conway area that's just southeast of downtown Orlando. And I should probably reverse that back. I'm not 100% sure that's actually Lake Conway. I know it's the Conway area. There is a lake that we are looking at over Conway, but you can see the very dark sky back there. And again, that's a very common sight right now through a lot of Central Florida, right? Low base clouds, very dark in nature, and some of this stuff is darn nasty out there as well. So there's your severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like, again, it's just trying to now push closer to 27. So downtown Ocala is right here, and you've got this cell that is skirting I-75 with probably some small hail in it as well. Again, maybe even up to, you know, penny-sized hail. It's not out of the question, especially in that flashing blue. Again, I can look at that. We can look at the estimated hail size, see if anything pops up. Sometimes it's just the fact that the product is not running on the particular radar rather than there's nothing there. I can switch over to, this is close enough where we can look at the Jacksonville radar as well. So let's bring up the Jacksonville radar, see if it picks up on any hail out of that. It does. So there you go. Querying those sizes. It's not going to be an inch, but it just shows you that right in this very small area, we got ourselves a decent hail core on the south side of that severe thunderstorm warning. And again, for that area, just want to get the bearings again one more time. It was 10 miles northwest of Ocala, 8 miles north of the Ocala airport. So, yeah, you don't want that getting close to the airport, that's for sure. But it is going to try and get down to 27 on the west side of Ocala, north to northwest side of Ocala. Keep an eye on that. Now, look, typically these hail cores don't last forever, right? They pulse up, dump some hail, and they're gone. They don't normally track a long distance, but we'll see how that plays. No, that's just a, thought they might have reissued a different warning, but that's not the case. Again, this is out of Jacksonville, but it's a little bit closer radar anyway. And again, you can clearly see that. And the DBZs, by the way, anything above 50 is pretty darn heavy rain. You're picking up DBZ levels here over 60. That's very intense rain. That's flooding kinds of rains. That's 1 to 2 inches of rain in a very short amount of time. And I did note that they did issue a flood warning as well. And the flood warning actually goes until 8 o'clock. So in this area, you have the severe thunderstorm warning, the heavy rain, hail, the 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential, but then you now have this flood warning that goes until 8 o'clock. 2 to 3 inches of rain with an additional 1 to 2. So this is another spot in Central Florida that could be talking about 3, 4, 5 plus inches of rain. Again, pretty localized, but pretty darn heavy as well. And that special weather statement, which is the yellow box, sneaks up into the western sides of Alachua County as well, Archer on over towards Newberry. Still have our special weather statement here in Volusia County. This cell again, not really moving very much. And again, at least out of the Jacksonville radar, we're not picking up a lot of southeast movement here. Let's put that into motion. Really looks like while it's nudged south, it is starting that little easterly turn. Notice that my radar is picking up and sliding that core east just a little bit. There's going to be an east movement to some degree to all of this, south of our boundary. Which, if you're just tuning in, and one reason why the storms are so active right here, this quasi-stationary front is draped over Flagler and Marion counties. So right near the greatest lift is where we have that severe thunderstorm warning. Had one earlier just west of St. Augustine as well. Been fighting dry throat, so please bear with me, and I appreciate the 7 minutes of me taking a drink from time to time. I do a lot of talking. I've always done a lot of talking. I do a lot of talking even more these days. So this cluster of cells here in Volusia County, again, they're going to be impacting Daytona Beach South, Port Orange, Edgewater, down towards New Smyrna, Wilbur by the Sea, Ponce Inlet, places like that. Not a strong storm, but enough heavy rain for US 1A, I-95, where again, it's going to slow things up. Going to cause some problems there. Thankfully, this cell hopefully will kind of lose some of its punch as it moves over I-4. And although there is a flood warning, by the way, or flood advisory, excuse me, all the way down to Orlando, it's on the northern extent of that flood advisory in this area where I think the highest opportunity for additional flood issues could arise, simply because it's still raining there. And again, we're not in a situation where we're going to have this redevelopment or we're going to have this prolonged activity, right? It's going to be localized and very significant, but I'm not expecting a ton of redevelopment, at least for right now. That being said, we're still going to be in an active pattern in the next couple days. It's not going to change very much because this stationary boundary, quasi-stationary, is going to be bouncing back and forth through Central Florida, and anywhere south of that is going to have ample moisture, and anywhere north of that is going to have a ton of instability or near that front to pop off some heavier storms. So if I go back over to the base reflectivity, which is a composite of all the different radar sites, I just want you to notice how wet and stormy it is across the entire state. And that's going to be sticking around for a bit too. And there's our severe thunderstorm warning for a storm that is not moving much. I mean, unfortunately, it does look like it is going to try and beeline towards Ocala, doesn't it? There's a bit of a southeast movement to it. I mean, look at this thing just kind of jitterbug around. Notice the lightning strike count as well. Still a very intense core there. So Marion County, for sure. Good active weather there. Severe thunderstorm warning currently in play. That goes until 5:15. So if we reset this, should be able to bring back on the times. Yeah, so for the next 8 minutes. Still a pretty heavy core right there. We'll see how they want to play that out. Meaning, do they really want to reissue it or not? Again, unfortunately, I just keep going back to the Melbourne radar, just checking. But it has not updated in 3 hours. So that stinks. But again, not our fault. Nothing we can do about that. Go back to the Tampa radar. Be able to look at the storms from here. Again, this special weather statement will expire in 7 minutes. Now that storm looks like it's lost a bit of its punch. If we zoom in on it, 22 lightning strikes in that view in the last 15 minutes. Still trying to get that heavier rain towards the land in Orange City. They have been wedged in between two of these cells. That storm over Lake Helen might actually almost be trying to back build west or barely move, right? So it's wet across 44, 415 towards our friends in Osteen. And then again, back down towards the coast as well. All right, guys, I think these cells are behaving themselves for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And look, if the situation gets to a point where I have to be back on, I'll come back on. But again, a little storm over Volusia County right now. Watch out for the heavier rain. Watch out for a little bit of isolated flooding too. Again, that's going to be some of the main issues. These other cells are tiny, but if you live in Ocala right now, that's probably my main concern, right? This severe thunderstorm warning, this cell moving southeast towards Ocala, and the special weather statements up in Alachua County as well. Let's take one more look at our cameras. Again, it's a beautiful shot there at Disney World. Dry so far. You've got those dark clouds over Conway, but those cells are moving up to the north. So not expecting that to be a tremendous issue right now as well. Sherry, I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So again, I'll monitor the situation. If it warrants to come back on, I'll jump back on. But again, friends, it's going to be an active pattern for the next several days. I'm happy to show you something before I get out the door real quick. We can take a look at our model. And again, we kind of ended the last stream with this as well. Let me go over this model with you guys real fast, because I just want you guys to prepare for what still might be coming. So let's bring this out to 5 o'clock. This is the HER model. High resolution rapid refresh. I'll get the model timeline to come on there. And again, this model only goes out 48 hours, but it does update every hour. So you want to talk about getting the newest information, right? So this should almost be fully looped up now. So again, this is what it paints on right now. It's a little bit too active down in Tampa, but you get the idea that will fade away the rain again tonight. And then again, just like this morning, more rain and storms will try and move back along our west coast pretty early in the day. This is tomorrow afternoon. Relatively active again. We'll see how the sea breezes play out, but we know that the mid and upper level winds are going to be west to east. So you should anticipate it being another wet, potentially stormy day with strong to severe storms, as long as that frontal boundary is in play. And look at this interaction tomorrow. Now, we'll see if the HER really wins out here and that we actually have even a bit of a westerly movement to the storms. But look at tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We'll see if that really ends up being the case. And then those storms try and push off towards the west. And then again, as we get towards Saturday, right? Still some more active weather. 2 o'clock doesn't look horrible, but I would expect more storms to develop there. So this is going to be very interesting tomorrow, and I'll keep a close eye on it for you guys as to how linear these storms are, meaning how much can they line up, because that's going to be a thing. If they can really line up like this, the wind threat's going to go way up. A little bit of funnel cloud activity too. Could just be some more very active weather. But there you go. Again, back to the live look right now. Just bringing back those just to make sure they didn't expire them early, and they have not. This one will definitely expire. That storm's not much more anymore, but this one here in Marion County, again, might be fading a bit, but if you live in Ocala, prepare for some winds that could be up to 60 miles an hour and some very heavy gusts. Okay, friends, again, I appreciate you guys as we leave here. Thank you for liking this live stream. It helps support the channel, gets more viewers to tune in. Thank you for subscribing to Central Florida Weather Live. Of course, I can talk. Like I said, I'm dealing with kind of a dry throat right now. So anyway, friends, have a great rest of your Thursday. And remember, this is a live-only channel, meaning that when there is active weather here in Central Florida, I'll be on live to cover it for you. So have those notifications on. You're not going to get spammed. Not going to be on all the time. So you know when I'm on that there's something that you're going to want to check out. And again, I appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll see you next time right here at Central Florida Weather Live. Have a good one, friends.